Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics that's Non-Classics. This is episode number 1298 and Dobuleshot number 1192. Now, I have two trades here from Marvel Comics, two crossover trades. And do you know what both these two have in common? They're both written by Brian Michael Bendis. I'm not kidding about that. Seriously, they are. Now, the first one was, believe it or not, this crossover was the first crossover that came out while I've been reading comic books. Yep. I'm not kidding about that. That is seriously true. Yes. I'm just taking a look at something here. Just a quick little thing here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. This one is House of M, released back in 2005. Yes, 2005. Like June 2005 when the first issue was released. And the last issue came out in December of... Actually, November of 2005. Yeah. They decided to release this sort of in a way bi-monthly for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Now... the interesting thing comes to this particular crossover. It's a flop to two major storylines in comic books at this point. One, of course, is and they're both very controversial stories, Planet X and Avengers Assembled. Now, Disassembled is not, let's say, as hated as Planet X. Planet X is hated for a very good reason. Because of the complete out-of-character nonsense that Magneto basically pulls in that story. One of the most important things about the story that a lot of people call immediate bullcrap on him is him leading a bunch of humans into an incinerator. Oh, by the way, he was called out for being a Nazi for this. And this is one of the Stepford Cuckoos. What did he do? He murdered her. Right in front of her sisters. I am not kidding. Though Marvel later retconned this particular one as being an imposter. Yeah, first it was Zorn, who was actually Magneto, and Magneto tried to just be the original Zorn. Yeah, it was nothing more. Now, my guess is the reason why I did this, because I think even Marvel must have hated. The higher-ups must not have liked the story very much at all. That's why they retconned it. Of course, that story was by Grant Morrison, a guy who was a good writer. But this is the way Grant Morrison kind of in the way was the second last arc he did. But this is your big climactic story you've been building toward since the start of your era. Yeah, but that has minor implications on this one. The other really big one is Disassembled. That one is just controversial. The only difference is it's not like you have, let's just say, a character who takes over the island of Manhattan and try to transform her into Genosha. Though Planet X basically is a storyline that Joss Whedon himself basically, if you read the Astonishing X-Men, his entire run, once every story he has to bring up Planet X. He has to bring up this storyline. It is by far the most frequent reference storyline I have ever seen. Disassembled is not referenced very much over the years. Mainly because not a lot of people like it very much. I mean, I have personally nothing wrong with the storyline at all. I mean, I think the artwork is really good by David Finch. David Finch himself didn't receive flack. He did receive some minor flack for this storyline. Mostly it was Bendis who took a lot of flack for Disassembled. Due to how out of character Scarlet Witch was. The fact that Bendis ignored a lot of the character stuff leading up to this. And also that particular story ended that point an era for the Avengers, where they were based at the Avengers Mansion. And it was after that story they stopped using the Avengers Mansion as their base operations. They moved to the tower and they remained there for a long period of time. Yes, there was an Avengers team in that tower for many years. They stopped using it back in 2015? Yeah, 2015. Yeah, they used it for like 10 years. 10 years, and you had 4 Avengers teams occupy that tower. You have the original New Avengers incarnation, you have the Mighty Avengers, the Dark Avengers, and the original team coming back. 4 teams in 10 years. The mansion itself remained basically in ruins for a long time. It was occasionally used by the Young Avengers. Mostly it wasn't really used at all. No one bothered to do anything with it at all. No one bothered to build it. It wasn't properly built until 2010. Yes. This storyline is mostly following up with the implications of what Scarlet Witch did, where it was kind of an odd story, like bringing a bunch of Ultron robots, caused death of her ex-husband. Yeah, that's a weird thing all in itself. And also caused the deaths of Jacob Hartz and Scott Lang. Though, interestingly, Scott Lang's death was completely undone, like, 8 years later with the Avengers Stones Crusade series. Yeah, they basically undid that in the most unusual way possible. The Young Avengers go back to that moment and bring Scott Lang to present day. Yep. Also, Jacob Hart himself was later basically resurrected in the Marvel Zombie Supreme miniseries. Yeah, he was resurrected in that, and he barely does anything since then. And basically, because Scarlet Witch for Cuckoo Puffs, this storyline kind of is basically the follow-up to that. Now, this storyline is mostly an X-Men storyline, because the Avengers don't do much of anything. The only reason I'm here because it's a big crossover. Now, the artwork in here for this entire story is done by, artwork and Pele. Yeah, Esther Rubik, who does the cover art here. Yeah, this cover artist also, believe it or not, was the tier artist for Jason Aaron's God of Thunder run. Yep, he did pretty much the entire run for God of Thunder. I think he did all the covers, all 25 covers, and I think he did most of the interiors. But the guy is one really good artist. I personally never met him, so I don't know how good of a person he is, basically, when it comes to people commenting his artwork. Now, mostly put you have... Now, despite the fact... Now, here's the thing I should point out, though, about the cover of this trade. Now, on this trade, we have maybe a handful of characters who actually do appear in this trade, who actually in this cover. For one thing, Moon Knight is nowhere in this trade, and not even in this storyline. Nope, he is nowhere to be seen. Rogue doesn't even appear at the meeting. That's the start of this. Nope, Rogue is Rogue is barely there. Bishop is not even here. Let's see. We also have... I think that's supposed to be the Swordsman. I don't remember who this guy is. A few of these characters, I don't remember who these characters are. But I know Charles Xavier is supposed to be basically on the... Well, it's mostly a very accurate cover. Now, one thing at least got praise about this storyline is the involvement of Spider-Man. Unlike crossovers that happened like in 2016, 2017, at least Spider-Man's here the whole frickin' story. Or at least actually here. That's one thing I personally got praise about Bendis. He always likes using Spider-Man in a story because I think he's a big Spider-Man fan. That's why I like a lot of the stories, even the main New Avengers book and the main Avenger, like New Avengers and Avengers, he frequently has Spider-Man take part in a lot of stuff related to the Avengers because I think he personally loved the character. Of course, you have to have Captain America and Iron Man part of the team. Yep. Now, mostly you have the Avengers, most of the Astonishing X-Men roster, believe it or not. Yes. The strange thing about this big Rogue be on the cover, she is kind of an event, but she's mostly in the House of M stuff. But in the case of the meeting that's there, yeah, she does take part in mostly it's a team from the Joss Whedon Astonishing X-Men run, and they bend this New Avengers lineup. Also, Carol Danvers and Wonder Man are here for reasons. Carol herself plays a minor role in this story. You might be asking, does Wonder Man play a role in this story? The answer is... No. No, he doesn't. Not at all. Unknown why Wonder Man is even here. So they discuss what to do with her. Now, I appreciate the fact Bendis writes the Avengers to be very competent people, and the fact that he actually reads them and basically has them like, okay, basically, we basically want to protect our friend, she's an Avenger, despite being mutant, and apparently the way he writes the X-Men... Well, mostly in the case of Charles Xavier. Like, apparently they can't do much anything for her. Not even Doctor Strange. Now, it has been pointed out by Linkar when they reviewed this particular story, this particular series for his Vince Comic Month. Now, basically, Scarlet Witch is insane. She needs psychiatric help. And a lot of people would easily point out, though, why couldn't they contact Doc Samson? Yes, seriously. This is a question I think everybody's probably asked Bendis over the years related to this storyline. Why couldn't the Avengers, the X-Men, contact Doc Samson, have him diagnose her? Nope. Don't bother to contact him at all. The only premier psychiatrist in the Marvel Comic Universe, and you don't bother to contact him. It's not even mentioned at all. And mostly this meeting takes place in Genosha to deal with her. And then apparently there were some people like want to kill her. So we have Quicksilver briefly talking to her because he doesn't want his sister to die. And then reality changes. Yep, the House of M. Where in this reality, Magneto is the ruler of Genosha again. Where his children are all there. He's got his grandchildren. Now, the thing with Wanda's children, unknown who the father is. And the thing is, in this reality, Wanda's a human. She's not technically has powers, though she has powers. Charles Xavier's dead. At some point, he died. It's never explained why. Apocalypse is the ruler of most of Africa, with Iceman as one of his horsemen, believe it or not. Yes, Iceman of the X-Men. We have Kenya being ruled by Storm, and her assistant being the Wasp. Yes. Doctor Strange being a psychiatrist. That's something. Doctor Strange is a psychiatrist. Let's see. Beast still a scientist. Peter Parker is basically a wrestler/actor, and he's married to Gwen Stacy. Not Mary Jane Watson, despite the fact at the time this was published, he was being married to Mary Jane Watson. And he had a child with her. Also, Ben Parker is alive. Yep, Ben Parker's alive. Iron Man is a gladiator. I'm not kidding about the Iron Man as a gladiator. Captain America is an old man. Thor is nowhere to be seen in this storyline for good reason. And that reason is because he was dead at this point. Bishop on the cover here actually did do something in the actual story itself. Mostly in Matopa X, where he was a police officer in that miniseries. Moon Knight, oddly enough, despite him being on the cover of the main story, he does nothing. Yeah. Most of the stories focus on Wolverine. Yeah, he mirrors everything. This story is also the introduction to Lila Miller, who is kind of still around today, but she's barely been used. So she pretty much has basically Wolverine remember basically who he was, because apparently she has powers to fix people's memories. Oh yeah, also Scott Summers and Emma Frost are married, and Scott Summers is an airline pilot and they live in Alaska. Excuse me, what was Wolverine's counterpart in this reality? He's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's the head of the Red Guard, which is comprised of himself, Rogue, Mystique, Nightcrawler, and Spider-Woman. Yes, Spider was part of this group, and Mystique is his lover. Yep, Mystique is his lover. Yeah, and he's a helicarrier. Now, in case you're curious, okay, S.H.I.E.L.D. is here. So, is Maria Hill in this reality? Shockingly, no. She is nowhere to be seen. If you're curious, though, what the heck happened to Nick Fury in this reality? Well, that's revealed in the Wolverine tie-in. You want to know what happened? Wolverine killed Nick Fury by poking one of his claws through his ear. Right through the man's brain. So, Nick Fury's dead in this reality. Shockingly, Punisher is nowhere to be seen. Along with Dagger. Cloak is here. Yeah, Cloak is in his reality. And he's with Luke Cage, who's got a mustache again. Yeah, first time I think of he's had this mustache and hair look. I mean, he has dreadlocks in his hair. And he's the head of the Underground. These basically group of superhumans. And one of the people here is actually freaking Hawkeye. Now, Wolverine can probably easily play, hey, aren't you dead? I heard you got killed when the Kree you got fired off a jetpack. They tried to kill a bunch of Kree soldiers. Yeah, Hawkeye is alive in this reality. Though, in case you worry, wait, isn't he alive in the regular reality too? Yes, he is. Now, who else is part of this Underground aside from Hawkeye, Cloak, and Luke Cage, who's the lead of this group? Oh, by the way, Carol Danvers, like you see in this cover here, yeah, she's referred to as Captain Marvel in this reality, which she later became Captain Marvel in current reality, in 2012. Steve Rogers is old. He never got frozen. He's basically naturally aged. Also, Emma Frost basically, being sexy as usual. Dazzler is still a singer. Actually, no, Dazzler is a reporter. Yep. Wonder Man is a popular actor. Oh yeah, by the way, the Sentinels work for S.H.I.E.L.D., and these guys don't hunt mutants. Nope, they hunt non-mutants. Yeah. Oh yeah, Namor is still ruler of Atlantis in reality. That hasn't really much changed. But, come on, seriously. Thank you. Now, the other members of this group are Misty Knight. Let's see. Oh yeah, Danny Rand is in this reality. He's a patient. Actually, this is I think it's Iceman. I'm not sure. Colossus is basically in Russia. Not much to do with him. Let's see if I can find him here. Yeah, Storm basically is the ruler of Kenya for some reason. And Wolverine is remembering stuff. Let's see if I can find it here. When Wolverine basically just finds the underground. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Toad is part of this group. Yes, Toad. Yes, frickin' Toad. Yep. Also, it looks like that, it's not Storm. I don't remember who this woman is, but it's a very interesting lineup. Yes. And also, it's real in this reality and later miniseries. The Kingpin is in this reality, but he's actually pretty thin. Yes, Wilson is a skinny guy. And also, the Master People were here, but they don't do much of anything. That was basically, there was a miniseries called Master Evil. It was House of Master Evil. That was just Marvel set to continue to cash in this franchise. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, I think this is supposed to be Colleen Wing. Yeah, basically, Wolverine tries to explain to everyone what the heck happened, and the Sentinels. Yeah, the Sentinels don't look like the way they do in the regular universe. No, they look like freaking giant gladiators. Yeah, don't know why. I think this. Now, here's the thing: the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this reality is Sebastian Shaw. I'm not kidding about that. It's really Sebastian Shaw. Yeah, he's the ruler. He's basically the head of the director. He's director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Luke Cage, after Wolverine explains everything to everybody. So, thanks to Lia waking up everybody's memories. And of course, Luke trying to contact his wife. That doesn't work out very well. And of course, Wolverine's like, "Hi, Ems. You're robbing me?" Yep. Like, you kidding me? You have a brain. Take a look. And he's, what? I didn't say anything. And then Drake's like, "Oh, crap." Like, she remembers the... Yep. And then we see these three mysterious people. Like, apparently look like Charles Xavier and three hooded figures. Yeah, here's the thing about this. When I heard that this was basically later changed to something else altogether. Yep. Oh, and by the way, Peter Parker is bald. Yes, if you're curious, so, like, you read this, like, wait, why did Peter Parker shave his head? Well, that was something that happened in the Spider-Man House of M miniseries, where after he remembers everything, he apparently wrote everything down in a journal. It's implied he does remember exactly. Also, he is lying in public about being a mutant. Yep, just to make sure his family is okay. Yeah. So after everybody pretty much remembers, they pretty much launch a full-scale attack on Genosha to find Charles Xavier and try to undo all this and try to convince Scarlet Witch basically about this too. Yep. Also, we finally see Lorna. Yep. And wow, they put her in a very revealing outfit. Oh, in case you're curious though, does Havoc exist in this reality? Shockingly, no. There's no mention of Havoc at all. Which I'm like, really? No Havoc? Okay. Yeah, that's kind of strange though. Like, as far as I know, there's no mention of Havoc, the Punisher. Like, there was several characters associated with the Marvel Universe. They're nowhere to be seen. Daredevil is kind of here. Also, Victor Von Doom is still ruled out various. That's really not much change here. Mm-hmm. So the last few issues is basically a big brawl between the reunited heroes against the House of M. and Doctor Strange convinces basically Scarlet Witch after revealing that, oh yeah, the person who actually caused all of this, despite Scarlet Witch did change reality, but she was convinced to do this by Quicksilver, her brother, because she thought that everyone would kill her. So yeah, when Magneto finds out that Quicksilver was responsible for all this, he gets mad and basically nearly murders his own son. So then we have the most controversial thing related to this series happen in the final issue. Where Scarlet Witch utters the famous 3 words that basically changed everything. No more mutants. And, well, that's how the Pencil issue ended with that particular thing. And, well, everything's back normal. Lila still... Also, and Linkara did not point this out, though. On her wall, we have Moon Knight. Basically, we have various covers of famous Marvel comics on her wall. We have a cover for Hawkeye. Looks like Carol. We have the cover to the first issue of Chris Claremont's 3rd run for Kenny X-Men. I'm not sure where this Spider-Man came from, or this one here. I think that's from New Avengers. But this Moon Knight one right behind Lila, that's from the first issue of Moon Knight by Volume 3, which I thought was so cool. Bendis threw that in. Yep, everything's all pretty much backed up. We also have a reappearance by the Sentry, which I bet a lot of people are Bob, where the heck were you during all this? Yeah, the Sentry's nowhere to be seen. Yep. So everybody's going freaking nuts. So, and then Wolverine members. I will get more of this in a minute. And then Emma Frost turns on Cerebro. By the way, they actually, after the original 2000 movie for X-Men, they actually changed the Cerebro to look like the way he did in that movie. Probably because I think that Marvel said, hey, that Cerebro looks cool. We'll put that in the comic book. Yep. I think it was Grant Morris who introduced this in the X-Men books. Which, that's a cool concept, even I'm behind. As far as I can tell, this was a Cerebro that the X-Men had. I would probably say up until 2007, when the X-Men Institute was destroyed. Though I think they did rebuild this thing when the Institute reopened back in 2011. Yep, so all the mutants are gone. Basically, it's been dwindled down from millions to 198. Yep. So yeah, basically, Bobby lost his 2nd mutation. Aaron brings us out what to do next. Also, we alert at the Avengers Institute, Avengers Mansion, where they find Hawkeye's costume. Yeah, he's alive. I'll explain more about that in a minute. So, Magneto is depowered, and we see an ending that leads into something big. Boom. Is that the next crossover? No, that leads into the collective story arc in, well, the main X-Men, the main Avengers book. Now, there's also Secrets of House M in here too. It's mostly a profile book of everybody in this reality. Yeah, that's simply put what the book is. Mm-hmm. And you have the post-special edition, which is a newspaper version of this, which is quite interesting. I would highly recommend this. Now, what exactly happened after this? Oh, by the way, I give the trade roughly I give it roughly a 9.5. It's a really good storyline. Now, what exactly happened with a lot of these characters afterwards? The Avengers, mostly, with the exception of the Collective, nothing much happened with them unless you read the main book. The X-Men, wow, okay. Mutants remained depowered for 8 years until AVX. Wolverine got his memories restored. Yeah, what did this lead to? A spin-off ongoing series for Wolverine, spin-off from his main book, Wolverine Origins, by Danny Wayne and the late Steve Dillon, who basically did this book for 50 issues in one annual. Now, okay, but what else happened? Well, Onslaught got resurrected. Yes, Onslaught. The main villain of one of the most controversial comic crossovers of all time, Onslaught Epic. Yeah, that guy. He got resurrected. Though he was a negative zone. He really wasn't much anything until Onslaught Unleashed. Let's see. Well, we did briefly have this dissemination where Quicksilver, who was depowered but got repowered thanks to the Terrigen crystals. Though he did briefly repower, he did in fact repower several mutants. Magneto remained depowered up until Uncanny X-Men 500, when he got his powers fully restored. Well, at that point, they were going to move over to... They were at San Francisco at that point. And Emma Frost would basically still be at Marissa with Scott Summers until AVX. But yeah, the whole thing... Now, I do agree that this is probably Joe Quesada's idea, but this is something that probably for a lot of people, it wasn't, let's say, biggest hatred of an idea as Spider-Man One More Day. That was more hated than this. And that came out 2 years after this miniseries came out. But that was the first of 4 big crossovers Bendis did. Next one he wouldn't do until 2008 with Secret Invasion. Then he did Siege. And after that... He didn't do he technically did Age of Ultron, but that barely affected the Marvel Universe. But this next one I'm talking about, this one did. A book that had no build. No one asked for this. And the only reason why they did this book was because of the movie. Civil War 2. Which this one's done by Brian Michael Bendis and Dave Marquez. Fun fact about this miniseries. Issue 2... At the time it came out, was the highest grossing issue that came out in the month that came out, which that was quite interesting. Now, this was also the first and only event that Bendis, actually one of 2 events Bendis worked on, where there was actual delay. Though in the case of Siege, it was the final issue. This one happened halfway through the series. Siege, I'm not really sure what the reason for the delay was. This series actually had a reason for a delay. What was the reason? Believe it or not, it was actually due to Dave Marquez becoming a father. Yep, that was actually a good reason to delay the book. I mean, Dave Marquez became a father. A lot of him spent time with his new child. Which, okay, that was actually a good reason. Now, my biggest problem with this book... Now, a lot of people thought this book was completely unnecessary. And it definitely was. It is also by far the only Bendis crossover event of the 4 big ones he worked on. I'm not counting Age of Ultron because that has really nothing to do with this at all. Is one of 4 he worked on where it had 0 build and it had no reason to exist aside from the fact that Captain America Civil War came out the same year. As a matter of fact, the first issue released in the same month as the movie was released. Yep. Now, by the way, when this cover was released, people thought that the Human Torch would be the primary focus of the story. That was a lie. Oh my gosh, yes, that was a big fat lie. Also, Peter Quill was not on Iron Man's side in this story. He was on Carol's side. That was another big lie. Yep. And as for Sam Wilson, I don't know whose side he was on. He was barely in this event. Now, here's something interesting about this event. Now, Clee has to write this cover. Does he do anything in this event? He's there. For about half the story, he just disappears off panel. No explanation why that was. This event has got several deaths in it. Now, did House of M technically have any deaths? No. No, because it was Ultimate Reality. This one had several deaths. We had the death of the original Jester. We had death of the Hulk. Yes, the Hulk. He was a really big one. We also had death of James Rhodes. We also had a -1 death in a way. We had the apparent resurrection of Doc Samson. Now, he had been dead at this point for 6 years, and here he is, alive and well. No explanation of how the heck he was resurrected. Bendis never bothered to explain it. It's one of 2 times he actually did a death and never bothered to explain the reason for the resurrection. It took another writer in a different book to bother to explain this. The last this happened was with Cornstar. And I gotta stop this video for a bit because I gotta use the bathroom. Yep. Be back. Part 2. Okay? There. Later.